Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of Revit Pure Live. I am your host, Nicolas Catelier. I am an architect, a BIM specialist, and the founder of Revit Pure. We're currently live on August 16, so you may be watching live right now on YouTube, or maybe you're watching a replay. In all cases, all good. And currently there are 261 live viewers, which is really good. We've been taking a break for the summer. Now we're back with Revit Pure Live. Really excited about this episode. Really happy to be back on the show. And yeah, so many people in the chat. I always like to have a glance and see where people are watching from. We got people from Belgrade, people from Iowa, people from Portugal, from Napa, California, Istanbul, London, Algeria, from all around. This is nuts. Like, thank you so much for tuning to the show again and again. It means a lot. And we've got a great show for you today. Before moving on, I have been working on so many great things. Not ready to announce all of them, but one of them I can. So next week, there will be another episode of Revit Pure Live with Bill Allen and Ben Guler. It's the second time Bill and Ben are coming to the show. They are from Evolve Lab. And since the last session, they've been releasing an amazing new tool called Veris, which is AI rendering for Revit with a prompt similar to what you can do with Midjourney, but directly in Revit. And I'm sure a lot of you saw some of the GIFs and some of the results on social media. Pretty interesting tool. I've played a little bit with it, but I cannot wait to talk with Bill and Ben about it. So this is next week. What date is that? It is on August 23rd at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be talking about generative AI with Revit with Veris. I think Veris is also compatible with SketchUp and Rhino, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, if you're interested in AI, this is going to be a good one. I'm also working on a complete new season of Revit Pure Live, which the complete list of guests will be announced in the coming weeks. So after this episode, we'll be talking another short break of a couple of weeks, and then we'll have a big season of about 6 to 7 episodes, still finalizing a few things, but lots of amazing things going on. So I cannot spoil every single guest, but we'll be talking about AI. We'll be talking about the future of BIM, upcoming tools. We'll be talking about Midjourney. We'll be talking about BIM standards as well. I've been trying to get into ISO norms, and it's a bit complex, so we'll have someone talk about that. So stay tuned. We'll soon reveal the complete list of guests. So today's topic, let me move to the screen. Today's topic is creating a pro template. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I think having an amazing template is the foundation, the most important thing when you're trying to get things done in Revit and in BIM. And when you have an amazing template, everything else is so much easier. You still need to have proper practice for modeling, but it really helps a lot. And I've started as a BIM manager in 2012, and each year I've been experimenting, iterating, trying new things to make the template better. Some of them were success, some of them were failures, but I've learned so many lessons that along the years I've created what is called the Pro Template, which was originally released on Revit Pure website 2 years ago. but since then we've had a few minor updates to it. And it has been updated for Revit 2024 recently. So I'm going to show what's inside of the Revit, the Pro template, but this is not just an ad. You can just take the principle and build your own. That's totally fine as well. If you're interested in acquiring the Pro template, you can get it alone for $199. You can get it with the managed course. You can get the mega bundle, which includes everything Revit Pure has ever released. So let me show you quickly. So this is Revit Pure website. We do have a few courses. If I go to the template area over here, you can see the Pro template. You can get it over here, $199. And yeah, it has been updated for Revit 2024. It includes the new Topo Solid tool inside of it, as well as a few other small changes. And the Pro template is also part of the managed course, which is similar topics to what we'll be talking about today: how to create a great template, but also how to use Dynamo, how to keep healthy Revit models. And before going further, let me jump. Okay, I'm going to do a giveaway for the Revit Pure Pro template. Let me just activate it. Okay, the giveaway started. So you can type raffle in the chat, !raffle, and you will get a chance to win a copy of the Pro template. And someone will be randomly selected in the chat, and that person can claim the prize at this email address, nick@revitpure.com. Send an email there claiming your prize. Of course, if you won, you got to wait 5 more minutes. So type in !raffle to enter the raffle. Yeah, so the chat is going crazy right now with everybody typing in raffle. Always fun to see. Wow. Okay. And if you're watching the replay, by the way, it doesn't work. Each time I see people in the comments typing raffle, but it's only if you're watching live that this is going to work. All right, so while the chat is going completely nuts with everybody typing raffle, meanwhile, I'll wait until the winner is picked and we can get the presentation started. So I remember when I started building the Pro template more than 10 years ago, we had this big innovation of having a welcome page. Of course, now it's become much more common to have that title block that includes some information. But this one does contain a few interesting things I wanted to show. So I'm going to switch between the slides to Revit. So this is a Revit project that I've just created by using the Pro template. So this is the first sheet that you will see. So I'm assuming most of you know, but there's a tool over here that is the starting view. And if I use this, I set it to sheet X1. I use kind of a random sheet number, is X, and it's called welcome page. And this contains the project name, the project number. You can write message to your team. You can include many other things as well. But something interesting that is quite unique to the Pro template, and something you should consider, is, I don't know about you, but like coordinates can be extremely confusing, isn't it? Like everything I've written about coordinates has been among the most popular content on Revit Pure website. And I realized people are really confused and they don't know where the points are. They don't know where the points should be. So what I've done, I've created a view for each of the main coordinate origin point. There's the internal origin over there, the project base point, and the survey point. I'm not going to explain the difference between all of these points. You can search for it on Revit Pure website or on YouTube. You will find some content I did in the past that's going to get into it. But in this case, I write a text explaining where the point should be. In this case, in the internal origin should be located at grid A and 1 intersection. And there I can see that the internal origin is at the correct place. And so, for instance, if I was to open the project and I would see something like this, it would mean there's something wrong because the red text indicates the position that should be. But the view indicates something else. So to me, as a BIM manager, that would be a red flag that something is going on with the coordinates and maybe somebody moved the grids or the project has been moved away, something like that. Like in theory, the internal origin cannot be moved. When it comes to the project base point, same thing. So I indicate the values that should be 0, 0, 0, and same thing for the survey point. So these are just views to keep track of the coordinate points in the project, because it's very easy. People are not sure where it should be placed. And also for me, it's a reminder to people, hey, think about this. You need to think about where these points should be. For those who don't know, typically the internal origin is going to be, if you link a CAD file, for example, this is going to be used as the 0, 0, 0 origin for the CAD, by default at least. A few comments about the origin, but sometimes grids move as part of design. How do you deal with that? That's a good point, Ermin. Like, you have to take that into consideration. If that's the case, I would just say that the BIM manager needs to be aware that maybe the internal origin is not at the exact same position as it used to be, and then you can update the red text. But the point here is that people know where the point is and where it should be. That's just knowledge is the most important part. You know, if in the end, like the internal origin is not exactly the grid intersection, maybe it's not a big deal, but people should at least know it. So if they export or try to link files together, they won't have any bad surprises. Okay, I think the raffle is over now. So I'm going to complete this. I'm going to pick a winner. All right, so the winner is Mark Hudson. Congratulations to Mark Hudson. Let me just type in the chat. So Mark Hudson, you can claim your prize by sending an email at nick@revitpure.com, and you will receive a free copy of the Revit Pure Pro template. Congrats, Mark, and I hope you enjoyed the template. All right, let's keep it on. I have a lot to cover. Okay, so one of the main topics I wanted to talk about is the project browser. There are so many ways you can organize the project browser. I would say one of the most common technique is to have an organizing parameter. I know a lot of firms are working this way, and this is the way that we've used to work at the firms I used to work with, by using an organizing parameter. Let me explain what I mean exactly by that. So if I create a new Revit project, in this case, I might use the default Autodesk template, the new one that they've released with Revit 2024. And let's say that I want to organize the views differently. I can go to the Manage tab, go to Project Parameters, create a new parameter, and I'll call it Sorting Parameter. You could call it something else. And then I will include the views, and it's going to be by instance. And then each view in the project will have this sorting parameter. And I recommend typing a number. So for example, here I can type in 01, for example, cities. You can have concept, you can have worksheets. You can decide how you want to name them. And then I have to right click over here and select browser organization. And I will create a new scheme to apply to the project browser by clicking on new. I will call this sorting parameter. And then ignore filtering. If you use any filtering, it means some of the views in the project will not be visible in there. And here in grouping and sorting, I will group by the sorting parameter. And then I will use family and type. And I will click on OK. And then when you're finished, make sure to check the box to include the sorting parameter. So you can see what happens, that the views that I've added the sorting parameters are correctly classified in 01 CD. However, any views that are not correctly classified are going to be in the question marks, which quite frankly be pretty annoying. But this can be solved by using view templates that you assign to the views, and automatically the sorting parameters will be correct, and you should avoid most of the question mark. But in my experience, by using this sorting scheme, I always ended up having question marks, which is extremely annoying. But anyway, so anytime I would change the sorting parameter to something else, let's say this is 0 to concept, I recommend using number so that they're placed in the order that you want. You see that they're now classified like this. So this is a decent way of doing. I know a lot of firms are using this. You can add multiple sorting parameters, especially for bigger firms that might have multiple discipline. You can organize quite a lot with this. So this is one way to organize, but I am proposing to you the way I do it in the Revit Pure Pro template is different. I've experimented so much to find a great way to organize the views in the project browser. And the different way is using the view types. What that means is that each view in Revit has a view type assigned. So if I'm going back to Revit over here, so you can see this is the Pro template, so it's already been created. But if I use this one, for example, so this is the default Revit template. You can see that floor plan has multiple views. Like for example, this one is called architectural plan, so I can switch to lighting plan, mechanical plan, plumbing. But the way I've decided to do it in the Pro template, which in this version only has views for architecture, doesn't have like electrical and so on. Well, let's say I go to this and I click on the drop-down menu. You can see every single kind of view I've created in the project browser. So to accomplish this, you select one of the view, you click on edit type, like you would for a family. You click on duplicate and you can create a new type of view. And this one is going to be called 1.8 test plan. And of course, I use the number for the order that I want the views to be organized. Like this, you can see that this view is added to 1.8. And if I go to the project browser organization scheme, it is called RP Pro, and I click on edit over here, I go to grouping and sorting. The way I sort of views, first you set it by family, and then you set it by type. And that creates this result where the first level is floor plans, ceiling plans, 3D views, elevations, sections, detail views, and drafting views. And the second level is the type, so the different categories of plans, for example. So I've experimented so much with different ways of organizing the project browser, and this is by far my favorite method. There are never any question marks. It works very well, and there are other advantages as well that I'm going to show. So I'll be curious in the comments how you organize your project browser, and if you think this is something that could work for you. All right, so it was a question about the welcome page. Yes, each of these are views. So for example, they are classified in 1.5 work. You can see there are views called chord. So chord internal origin, chord project base point, and chord survey point, where only this element is visible and everything else is turned off. It's just kind of a view to track these specific points. Also, the point of this, if I send my model to a consultant, like an engineer, like they can open the model and with the welcome page, they'll know immediately where my points are placed. They don't have like to try to mess around to find the points. Yeah, so a lot of people mention using sorting parameters already are coded in all view templates, view types needed. Yeah, that's definitely a good way. If you're going to use the technique, the sorting parameter, you absolutely need to use view templates, else you're going to have question marks. But even then, with my experience, is that you just need one user that might remove the view template and you will still get those pesky question marks. So if you think you can avoid them and it's working well for you, I've seen many firms use this technique and it's great. So you don't have to change the way you're working. But if you haven't considered, I would say personally, the view type technique works really well. Highly recommended. All right, so you can see all of the views placed. I've created types for every kind. I'm going to talk about phasing later. So there are never any question mark in this. And something else that I really like about this is that any working views, so if John creates a temporary view to work on the model. Like the workflow is to place it on 1.5 floor plan work, where all temporary views or work views that are not meant to be placed on the sheet can be placed there. And so I usually recommend that the users should type their name as well in the view name, so we can know if it's an important view. And with, I think it's in Revit 2023 that they introduced this icon to know if it's placed on the sheet or not. It's easy to know if, when you clean a model, if you can delete the view or not. Okay, now let's talk about organizing sheets. Going back over here. So the way that I do it, and I recommend, typically, at least as an architect, I might have a set of plans for the CDs, execution documents, and then I might have another set of plans for the city, for example, for permitting, or where I might have a colored elevation or a colored plan view. And these typically are placed in C. I like to use the C letter. And everything that is internal will be placed in X. In this case, I have the welcome page, and I also have a sheet where all the title blocks are placed so I can visualize them. So this is all internal. You could have additional sheets as well. And everything in C, let's have a look. For example, I have a presentation elevation, and I have a presentation floor plan in, is this letter format or 11 by 17 probably. So more meant for presentation than CDs. And the way the project browser is organized, let's go to sheets, let's edit this, is I'm using the sheet number, but I'm using this trick of activating this box that says leading character, and I set it to 1. What this means is it will use the first character of the sheet number. So in this case, it's A, C, or X, and it's going to group the sheets by that. And then it's going to be in ascending order. So if I go over here, you can see all the sheet in A, all the sheet in C, and all the sheet in X. And this avoids me, like I know another popular technique is using, again, a sorting parameter. But if you don't have a sorting parameter for one of the sheet, you're gonna get those pesky question mark that are so annoying. So once again, for this, I recommend using the leading characters number 1 to organize your sheets. Having a look at the chat, do you have any option to solve the broken leader after export to AutoCAD? I don't know about this. If anyone have a solution for this, let me know. Do you assign view templates to new views with your view types? Yes, we're coming to that soon. All right. Now let's talk about schedules. So far I said that I don't like sorting parameters that much. Schedules are the exceptions. For schedule, I didn't really find a better way of doing it. And usually there are less schedules than there are views, so it's not that big of a deal. And it works pretty well to use a sorting parameter. So in this case, you can see the 4 categories that I've organized. I have notes for all the plan notes that I have. I have sheet schedules, so schedules that are meant to be placed on sheets, like for example, the door schedule, the furniture schedule, and so on. Then I have the finishes, including the exterior finish legend and the interior finish legend as well. If we have some time, we can come back to it to explain the way I create these. These are material takeoffs that I use as legends for the project. And then number 4 are the work schedule. So what is a work schedule? A work schedule is a schedule that is not meant to be placed on a sheet. It's meant to be kept internally. So you can see a live session I did with Purvi Irwin. I think it's episode number 4, where she discussed, so I got really inspired by what she did. The idea is everything in blue in here, all the columns in blue are only internal. So if I was to go to the door schedule at this place on the sheet, you can see that these specific columns don't appear. And it's just for internal use, maybe for quality control to verify that the model is healthy and nothing is wrong. And so once again, if I check the browser organization for the schedules, I am using the sorting parameter, which I've mentioned I don't like using very much for the views and for the sheets, but for the schedules, it works pretty great, I would say. Uh, maybe you will still get these question mark. For example, if I remove the sorting parameter, I do get these annoying question mark, but schedules, you typically, yeah, you can have a lot of schedules, but typically it's a little easier to classify and to fix this than on views where there can be so many views. Yeah, a comment from Joshua that says, remember that episode I implemented working schedules in our template after that stream. Yes, Pervy is so good with a schedules. So many good tricks from her. Yeah, I recommend checking out episode number 4. All right, let's keep going. Okay, and it's really important to set up naming standards for your views and to include it in your BIM protocol. I could do another whole episode about how to create a great BIM protocol, PDF document, or these days it can be online by using tools such as Notion, SharePoint, whatever cloud tool you're using. But here I really like to name the views in a consistent ways. For example, the floor plans new will just be the name of the level. Then existing, I will add prefix EX with a dash, demolition dem with a dash. And the 3D views, I usually have a number, then dash 3D, then a description. So I have that for every single views in the project. If I go back to the Revit project, and you can see the way views are named. Let me open all of this. There's a very consistent way of naming. So for example, ceiling will have CEIL dash, and then the phasing, new, existing, or dem. Same thing for the elevation. And for example, if I'm going to the detailing, I have my wall sections, which are SEC-wall01. And then if this is a callout that has been created from this one, so you can, this callout, for example, this one I would call it 01-1. So it's referring to the main wall section. Anyway, it's really important to think deeply about how to organize your project browser. I did post a meme on LinkedIn about it. Do I have it? Let me show you. Because I'm sure many of you have opened Revit projects and you have a look at the project browser and you're like, what the hell is going on? It's impossible to find what you're looking for. And to me, when I open a project and I see like a messy project browser, it's the first sign that something is really wrong with the model. And it's probably not very well managed. Let me show you that little meme over here. There you go. So I'm sure many of you saw that, like copy one, copy one, copy one, copy one, copy one. And even I saw people creating new view types with completely bogus titles, such as fake ceilings for tags. Like in this case, I made it up, or don't delete, or don't use, or anything like that. Where just, yeah, this doesn't seem to be very well thought out. And to be honest, I did have one project that I remember losing control a little bit, and then very quickly, it's like weeds. If you don't take care of it quickly enough, you can completely lose control. And like 2 weeks later, the entire project is like this. So if you have your project browser in order in the first place, things are going to go, are much more likely to go well for you. So think about this. I'm sure all of you saw something like that at some point, right? So yeah, that's anything else for the project browser? Yeah, not necessarily project browser per se, but let's go over here and let's scroll down. Also, naming families, extremely important. Do I have, let's open a few of them. So I have a code. Typically, it's the name of the company. So in this case, RP for Revit Pure, underscore PRL for profile. So each kind of family does have a 3-letter code. So PRL for profile, underscore again, and then a short description of the family by using dash. I don't like seeing spaces in my family names. And yeah, every single kind, I'm sure it's possible in the template. There are a couple of one with spaces. Or maybe not. So you can see, yeah, so I've said 3-letter codes. It can be 4 sometimes for doors, and it's not that big of a deal. Or 2 letters in the case of detailing. So yeah, try to think of a naming convention. Or if you do get this template, you can just reuse the system. I'll have a quick look at the chat. There's a lot of questions, so it's possible. Sorry if I don't get to answer all of them. Always go from general to detail. This applies from family to material naming. Yeah, William asks, why is it important to name the reference view to where it's coming from if that information is already shown in the properties? William, that's a great question. I like that you can get a glimpse of the project by just looking at the project browser, even if you don't have to click the view itself. So that's why, for example, I like to type in new in the name of this view, because I know people could have a look at a phase and determine by themselves if it's new or existing or demo. But to me, I like that you can look at the project browser and know immediately what's going on. And so I know I can look at this callout and know that it has been created in this section if users did their job properly. Yeah. Agustina said the first copy one sets the tone and opens the door for thoughts for more copy one to come. Yeah, sure. Like if you start to have copy one, again, it's like weeds and more are going to come in the project. Are you using the number at the beginning of your view type for your sheet nomenclature? No, the number at the beginning of the view type is that because I want the views to be ordered properly in the order that I want. So since it's in ascending order, like 2.1 is going to be first, 2.1a is going to be second, and 2.1b is going to be third. So I typically want the new to be first, the existing after, and the demolition. So that the numbering allows me to control exactly in which order things are going to show up. Yeah. Tintalk says, why spaces are wrong? I think maybe it's not that big of a deal today. I think it comes from very old standards where having spaces could potentially create problems. So I've already always kept that in mind. Like honestly, I'm like maybe someone else could answer. Maybe it's just an OCD thing to not have any spaces in the family names. All right, let's keep going. So yeah, I deliberately started with the project browser because to me it's the base. Like often when I see a project that is disorganized, it's because the project browser is a mess and they didn't have a good system to start with. So if you have that, like chances are on your side. And of course, if you do some maintenance and explain to users how to use it. But the view types, for me, it's kind of self-explanatory. You don't have that much explaining to do. Okay, now let's talk about view templates and filters. View templates, what I like about the view type techniques is that I use the exact same name as the view types for the view templates, with a few exceptions at the bottom. But for the CDs, construction documents, it's the exact same name. So let me show you exactly what I mean by that. I'm going here. Let's say that I have ceiling new level 1. And you can see that the view template, the name is exactly the same. It's the same thing. It's the same number. Like to me, it's extremely simple. This view type 2.1b ceiling plan demolition as this view template assigned, and that's it. So users won't have to be confused. So which view template should go with each view type? No, it's super simple. If you create, let's say I create a new plan view, and I create from level 1, and I use existing. Which one should I use? Well, let's say demolition. So it's been created here, and you can see automatically the correct view template has been assigned, and it's the exact same name as the view type. So I'm just a fan of simplicity, generally speaking. I like how simple it is to have a view type and the view template having the exact same name. Yeah, having a look at the chat, avoid spaces in naming convention. Like many people explaining why. For example, Nicholas Wright says BIM 360 doc folders will not be accessible if you include a space at the end of the name. Interesting. Yeah, I think it's just good practice. Me too. I've heard that it's very specific circumstances that you could have a bug, but just because of that, it's a good practice to avoid in the first place. Okay, so that's for the view templates, at least how to name them. Now let's talk about filters. Filters are powerful and often underused from what I see in a lot of templates. And that's the difference between amazing template and an okay one. So these are the filters that I have for my main floor plan view. And I mostly use filters to make some elements invisible. So you can see in this case, I make the demolition views invisible, the site floors invisible, the presentation views, because all these views that are starting in C, I had a filter so all the C views are not visible in the CD plans, and the finishes for the walls and the floors. And something else that I like to set up in the template is are the scope boxes. I try to set them to every single view. So for example, if I'm assuming most of you have an idea of what a scope box is. If not, I do have a pamphlet PDF guide about it and a YouTube tutorial, so you can search for that. We can see, in this case, I have a couple of scope boxes in this. And this one is called main scope box, and this one is levels and grids. So if I go to my, where is it? This one, and you can see that the scope box has been assigned. Oh, why is it assigned to level and grid? It should be main scope box perhaps, or maybe not. Maybe levels and grids is fine in this case. But it just, if you have like multiple views, you don't have to set the crop region every single time. It's going to be automatically assigned to the scope box. You don't have to play around with it. Tad asks, any reason why your origin is dollar right of plan? That's a great question. I remember having a few debates about this. Like, should it be top left? Should it be top right? Bottom right? Bottom left? I'll be curious if you let me know in the chat what you typically use. I've seen, in all areas, I've seen differences. I don't know if there's any norms or standards about this. What does ISO standards say? If it even mentioned that. An interesting comment from Liz Sinclair saying, I recommend using master format numbering from family naming. Yes, that's indeed a potential good way to do it. Etsane asks, hey Nick, thank you for this presentation. Is there the same template for Revit 2023 and 2022? Yes. This one goes to Revit 2019, if I'm correct. So you do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versions of this template. Of course, only in the 2024 will you have access to like the topo solid that has been placed, maybe a couple of fixes in the most recent version, but the core of it is pretty similar from one version to another. So some people say bottom right, some people say bottom left for the origin, the grid at top left. So as you can see, everyone has their way of placing the origin. Pretty interesting. Let's keep on going. Let's talk about phasing. You know, I've been working on so many renovation projects, and it was always, how are we going to organize the project browser for the phasing? How do we organize the new, the existing, and the demolition views? And like, to me, it turns out that this way of working with the view type, having a view type for new, having a view type for existing and demolition, is the best way to do it. And if for some reason you're working on a project where you're not doing a renovation, you don't really need to have views for the old phases, you can just select these views and delete them and they'll be gone from the project browser. You can even do a Dynamo script for that. There are some really great Dynamo scripts, startup script, where you select your project type and you can check the box renovation or new project, and all the renovation views are automatically deleted. Or you can do it manually. It's not that long too. So in this case, I think we have phases for the floor plans, for the ceiling plans, and for the elevations. Not really for the wall sections, although that might make sense to add as well. Okay, that's for phasing. Now let's talk about the view filters. Like, I don't like the default view filters, the phasing filters from the default template. So I did create my own. For example, if I go in here, you can see this is an existing view. For some reason, I do have some site elements showing up. That's okay. So this is what I like existing to show up like. The walls will be showed in a solid gray color. And for example, the windows, if it's not cut, I want to use a lighter gray color. Let's go to demolition. This is what I want. Let's hide this. Okay. This is what I want my demolition plan to look like. So to have nice dash lines and to also have all the existing walls showing up in gray. And then for the new element, where is my new? Okay, here's my new. I want the existing walls to be shown in gray with solid gray like this, but I want the new elements to show up in the white. Again, that's not something that's initially done by default on the default Autodesk template. So in this one, I had to mess around a lot with the phase filter. Let me show you the phase filtering for this. I'm going to the phase, going to phase filters. So you can see a few examples. And I did create a phase filter that's called complete no override if for some reason. So let's say that I want everything to show up in white. Let me remove the view template. I can switch from show complete to complete no override, and everything will just show up in white. So I guess it depends. Like for a renovation project, typically I would want to use this. But maybe it's possible that for some views, you just want everything white like this. And if I go to existing, the problem is existing, even though we're currently in the existing phase, I still want them to show in gray. So I'm created a phase filter that is existing new overridden, which means they're new in this phase, but they're not new in the context of the project. And so if I have a look at the graphic overrides, I just have these cut patterns. And by the way, the cut patterns, the solid fill, I always place it in the background. So if there's a color in the foreground, a pattern, it's still going to show up. What I mean by that is, let me go back to this one. Is this a generic wall? Let me switch the level of detail to fine. And you can see that has been possible only since Revit 2019, by the way, but you can see all the layers of the walls with a gray background anyway, which you couldn't do in the past. You had to manually draw field region, which was extremely boring, but now this is automatic. Just make sure that to set override in the background and to set no override in the foreground. I'm talking about the phasing over here. By the way, if you look on YouTube, I have another session where I just geek out about phasing, stuff like this. So I'm not going to go too deep into the phasing for now. Just know that I taught a lot about the best way to organize. And if I look at the elevation as well, pretty much the same concept. For example, this is a new wall, so it's showing in white, but the brick walls are existing, so they're showing in gray. And existing elements, for example, this window is going to be showing up in dashed lines. Okay, I would set the existing cut and project line as dark gray, so you differentiate between new and existing. Yeah, I don't know why, but I don't like when lines are a different color. It just look weird to me, but to each their own, of course. So just a solid gray is fine to me. I think this is pretty clear. I just like my black lines for the elements. But that's possible. Maybe it looked good in the end. But I like the way it looks. And by the way, in the Pro template, I've also played with the line weights. And something that could be controversial is I use the exact same thickness for all scales, which I could basically delete the scale if you're doing that anyway. And typically you would have different thickness at different scale, but something that I do like is knowing that line number 1 is going to be 0.1 millimeters anyway, regardless of the view scale. That's just something I enjoy, knowing that the thickness is the same everywhere. But some people might say, well, in detailing, that's not enough. We want things to be a bit thicker. Yeah, all good, but I've played around with it and I've come to this one. So there are good discussions. Yes, CoreDX says you can delete all of the view scale. That's right, yeah. That's right. If you are going to use the same for all, you could just delete them and just keep one scale. The same thing. I think I kept them all so people could see it and they could make change if they wanted to. There are discussions about phase mapping. Yeah, of course, if you have models from consultant, you need to do phase mapping. Again, I think it's something I talked about in the session, live session I did specifically about phasing. All right, let's keep on going. So yeah, like naming the views like this, I will use the same number, but add a letter to indicate existing or demolished. A for existing, B for demolished, and no letter for new. And if it's not a renovation project, you can just get rid of this. Title blocks. Yeah, I do like to have my sheet over here. Where is it? Where is it? Sheet with all the title blocks placed, so you can see, and that does include both the European sheet size and the North America, so both letter and the A series. Linestyles, again, one of the reasons I like to use the same thickness for all scales. I like this. I like knowing that line number 2 is 0.22 millimeters. So if I have other line styles, I'll know how thick they are. And I do actually include in the template, if I go to legends over here, not detailed component, template standard. So I have this view where I include everything, all the components, all the samples, everything. And I have this line style over here. So this is the way I name the view. So first, I will add a prefix for the company, RP in this case, dash, could be underscores as well if you want. And then this is the number of the thickness. So I know RP dash 2 dash dashed purple, that's the name of the line style. It's going to be a thickness of 0.22 millimeters. So this is the best way I found. If you want to see this in additional settings, line styles, you click on the plus and you can see every single one of them. And the reason I'm using a prefix, it's because you always get random alien line styles in your project, and I want to know if they should be there or not. So often I will open a project and see a bunch of lines, and often if you've done a bad job, maybe it's because you've exploded a CAD file inside your Revit project and every single layer has a line style created with the same name. So having these let me know that, okay, these are the really important line style that I should always keep and not delete. And anything else, it might be a mistake and maybe I can delete them. Having a look at the chat, people commenting about the title block. Yeah, as John Pearson mentioned, this X2 sheet, if you purge, indeed, you're going to keep them all. They're going to stay inside of the project. In this case, they're all a single family for all of them. But as someone mentioned in the comments, it could make sense to create one family and make them flex with different types. That doesn't seem to be the case for these. I've already talked about this earlier. So thanks to Purvy for the idea of having work schedules, as you can see below, just for internal purpose, and sheet schedules where it's going to be placed on sheets. So check out episode number 4 about this. Multi-category tag. So something I've realized with a lot of clients is that they have a tag that indicates the type mark for multiple elements, for the walls, for the doors, for lots of things. And I like to have a multi-category tag. So if I go to a floor plan view and I go to annotate and I have my multi-category tag over here, and I have just one that has multiple options, but let's say I use type mark, I can click this. This one doesn't have a type mark assigned, it seems like. But if you're using this symbol, this diamond symbol, I can use this on any elements. It might seem obvious to some of you, but so many people are not using multi-category tags, and you can, instead of having 15 families that are almost exactly the same, you can use multi-category and have just one. So you can see I can use this on windows, on walls, on doors. Pretty cool. And with the types, it does contain a few options, like the type comments, for example, that pops up below. Yes, CoverDX says that he uses a multi-category tag for notes. It's always also something that I've done before. Pretty good way of doing it. Okay, let's keep on going. Getting close to the hour. A plan note system. I do have a video tutorial about this plan note system. I'm not going to explain how to do it, the entire principle, but type plan note in Revit and you should see a Revit Pure video. I think I got originally the idea from Lauren from Team Parallax that I also had on the show to talk about the landscape at some point. The idea is to use a symbol family and to use a node block schedule. And some people might ask, is it better to use this technique? Is it better to use keynotes? It depends. Keynotes are great. I do use them, but they do have the thing I find annoying with keynotes is that you have to tag an element. You cannot have a keynote that is floating, which is kind of good because yes, it makes sense that you would want to specifically annotate an element that is part of the model, but sometimes you just kind of want to point somewhere and be sure that the node is not going to be deleted if the element is hidden or deleted or moved by mistake. So I'm going to showcase quickly this node system that I've been using successfully. It has some limitation too. Do I have a note in this? Okay, here's a note. So I have this note family. It's a generic annotation. So I can copy and paste this. And this is a floating. This is not linked to an element. So I can make it point anywhere. So I can change the number to 2. I can make the text visibility appear. And I can say demolish the floor. So this is not linked with text file. This is different from keynotes. I'm not saying they shouldn't use keynotes. Keynote is great, but the system works well, especially for smaller to medium-sized firms. Like they can find keynotes a bit intimidating, and they do have some limitations. But this works pretty well. And then there's a node block schedule that if I go over here in the notes and I go to, I actually don't. Okay, there you go. So you have the 2 nodes, demolish this wall and demolish this door. If I go back over here, I have too many views open. So if I create a third one, it's called demolish random. And I'm going to choose something else too. If I have twice the same node with different text and I go back to my little schedule that I had over here, you can see that number 2 is going to be placed twice. It just means that I can set a different number to this one and it's going to be moved automatically. And of course, since this is a schedule, you can click on highlight and model, and it's going to show you where this node is placed. And if you have multiple nodes of the exact same thing, they're going to be grouped together in the schedule. And I do have a schedule called all nodes, where every single node in the project is placed. You can see the view types, you can see the count, so you know how many views, how many nodes of this kind have been placed. Super Silly History asks, will I miss any benefit of your Pro 2024 if I only use Revit LT? I think the only thing you'll be missing are the view filters, because for some reason Revit LT doesn't have view filters. I think they might still be applied, but maybe you won't be able to modify them. Like, if there are some Revit LT users that could let me know if that's truly the case or not. Okay, having a look. People are still debating the space in the file name. That's funny. Hamudi is saying a space in the file name can cause errors when loading a file or when transferring files between computers. Common replacement for spaces in the file name are dashes or underscore. Yeah, that's all right. I'm not crazy, right? Like, I've heard this somewhere that spaces are bad in file names, so I've always kept that in mind. Always name my families without any spaces. So how long do I have to go? I'm almost done here. I'll finish this. So I released a few years ago a course called Design, and the goal was to use Revit for presentation purpose. And something that I did was to create these 3 families that are made for plan views. If I go, where are they? Well, I can go to 3D view over here. I can go to my site plan and see them all. I think I also have a site plan that is made for presentation purpose. There you go. I have my presentation site plan over here. And you have these, aren't these gorgeous, these beautiful trees? And since these are in the planting category, it means that if you edit the type and you change the dimension, like this, like it scales automatically, which is pretty cool. I think that's unique to the planting family category. So anyway, if you want nice looking trees in Revit, I do have some of them. I think I might have published a tutorial on how to create tree families like this at some point. You can have a look for it. But it is made by using a CAD file that is imported into a planting family. And then the template also includes a few presentation view templates. If I go to the 3D views, where are the 3D views? There we go. Over here, I have my main 3D view, like this. Nothing too special. I also have an exploded axon that is in black and white, but I've set an override so that the line for the explosion, how is that called? Displacement path, I guess, is using this kind of a dot in orange, so it looks a bit better. And I also have a template for a section perspective where the walls, floors, and ceiling, everything cut is shown in dark gray. And yeah. So there are a lot of more stuff in this template. Everything I've been trying to build for 10 years has been incorporated into the template. So once again, my goal here is not just to do an infomercial of the Pro template. Like, I wanted to show the principles and the thought process I had when integrating all of these things. So you can totally create it by yourself. If you want to save a bit of time, the Pro template is there for you on the Revit Pure website. And finally, when I work with clients and they ask me for a new template, I always start with this template, or if you purchase it, you do have access to the script as well to modify the prefix and the name of the elements. So I'm going to show you how to customize this. So shout out to DiRoots once again. I always mention their plugins, but I will use Family Revisor. DiRoots is a free collection of multiple plugins. One that I really like is the Family Revisor over here. So I'm opening Family Revisor. I will go to edit. I will find and replace RP underscore and replace by, so what's a random company prefix that I should have? Let's say that it is ZZ. So ZZ, and then I'm clicking on find all over here. It's finding all the instances. I hope I'm not crashing it. Okay, I have all the RP that has been found, and you can click on replace all. You can see for the family name, and then you can do the same thing for a type name, but I would click on apply. So I once did this process manually, and it was so boring. So I'm really glad that DiRoots released this plugin. All right, so then I would do the same thing here. I can switch from family name to type name. I'm not going to do it to save a bit of time, so I can get out there. But there are some things that are not changed. For example, it doesn't work, at least the old version didn't work on materials. So you can see materials all still RP, but I do have my Dynamo open over here. And this is a script that is provided with the Pro template. It's not very complicated. I'm just basically getting all the materials, the text note, the dimension, and the filled region names. And I saw John was there. So a shout out to John for this node called element filter by name and the clockwork package. So this is Revit 2024. I'm hoping that the script works properly. People have been having problems with it. Anyway, so I'm searching for RP, let's say, and I will replace it with ZZ once again, and I will run it. Why does it say Dynamo is not available in the current context? What does it mean? Okay, let me just close this, and I will open Dynamo once again then. Okay, let's open this again. Okay, ready to run. Like there's an exclamation mark here from Clockwork. Is this gonna work? I'm not too sure. I think so. I did check the script a few months ago. So clicking on run. Hoping it doesn't crash. You know, with Dynamo, you're never too sure, right? Even if I checked the script a couple of months ago, it was fine. But I'm always scared something's gonna go wrong. That's some sort of package. Not gonna be right. It seems to have worked. So you can see the list here. All the materials have been renamed. So I'm going to go over here back to the Revit project, going to the materials, and all the materials have been renamed to ZZ instead of RP. So whenever I work with a firm and they need a template, I'll start with this. And then of course, each firm does have different custom needs. And also if I go to the template standards, I click on one of these used to be RP, now there are ZZ as well. And I would probably, there's a find and replace somewhere. Find and replace, I can search for RP dash and replace by ZZ dash. Find all and replace all. You can see all of these texts have been replaced as well. And even though this says RP, if I look there, it's ZZ now. Good. So I think I went through the whole thing. So again, I don't want this to be informational. So I just put all the information about it. You can just use the concept to build your own template. But if you like this presentation and you would like to explore the Pro template and maybe save a little bit of time, revitpure.com/pro template. You can get it over there. It's been updated for Revit 2024 and it goes back to Revit 2019. And it should work with Revit LTE, except maybe for some view filters, but most of it should work. And if you want some courses as well, the managed course has been, the Pro template was originally created for this course. And this course also explained the principles of the project browser. And similar to what I've been talking about today, with some Dynamo content as well, and many others, model health. Or you can just get the bundle that contains all courses, beginner course, the design course, and so on. All right. I'm all done here. Okay. Any questions? Almost on time. I hope I didn't go too quickly. Someone in the chat says, the review says, it's always better to name your family parameters as FP underscore and share parameters as SP. Oh, interesting. For the text to the right of the filled regions, I would use a multi-category tag so that the text always represents what is shown. Yeah, I guess that you are referring to this. Yeah, you're right. This could have been a tag, probably. I don't know why I didn't use a tag. That's a great point. It would avoid me the pain of having to change the text each time. Anyway, I'm sure there's some things I didn't get into. As you can see, I didn't talk much about content, like door families, windows families, because to me, it's kind of a different topic. To me, you need to get the organization right, the underlying principles of the template, the project browser, the view templates, the filters, just the general philosophy of the template, the way you tag, the way you name things. That is so crucial. And then when that is done, you can start to think about, okay, adding the door collections or adding the windows collection. So there are not that many components of that kind in the template. It really focuses on the organization principles. And because anyway, like for doors and windows, needs are so different from one region to another. Like North America and Europe and Australia each have different needs for the doors and the windows, while these principles, like the project browser, for example, I think they do apply for people worldwide. Do you offer student discounts on all your courses or packages? Yes, from Imran, you can send me an email at nick@revitpure.com or use the contact form on Revit Pure website, and I can give a 50% discount if you're a student. Just send me kind of your student ID or something like that, or send from an university or college email address, and I will give you a discount. What is your point of view on the textile? What about the textile? So I'm not sure what the question is exactly. How do you deal with updating the template to newer Revit versions? It's not that complicated, you know. Like this year, it was a bigger change because I used to use floors for some side components that are flat. So I will use kind of a grass floor if I have a very simple site. So now in the 2024 version, I switched to Topo Solids. That wasn't one of the big change. Everything else is the same, really. I might just have a look at the new features and make sure that nothing is missing. All right, all good. Did I receive a message from Mark Hudson? I don't think so. Mark Hudson. Oh, maybe I do. Yeah, okay, Mark Hudson, I got you. I will send you the pro template, just making sure I didn't miss the person on the raffle. Okay, so let's bring this to an end then. Maybe just a final question. Is it possible to use DiRoots to clean up all the line types in the model? Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Next week with Bill Allen and Ben Guler, we're going to talk about generative AI with Veris for Revit, which also work for Rhino and SketchUp, I think. This is going to be super fun. It's been quite wild to see what's been going on with AI. Cannot wait to talk to these guys about it. It is next week, same time, same day at 3 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Yeah. So thank you very much to all of you and see you next week. Goodbye.